There is no limitation of data or the connections, the predictions that AI can make that the human brain just can't do.
Welcome back to the Law Firm AI and Scaling Playbook, the podcast for forward-thinking attorneys scaling with AI. I'm your host, Jamie Stewart, and with me today is Michael McCready of McCready Law Injury Attorneys. Welcome, Michael. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, Jamie. I'm well, thank you.
Awesome. Where are you calling in from today?
I am calling in from my home in Puerto Rico. I relocated here, and I run my law firms from here remotely.
Fantastic. Do you guys have several offices or just a couple?
We've got offices in Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Minneapolis.
Oh, amazing. All right. Do you travel back there occasionally?
Yeah, of course. But I've built my firm over the last 25 plus years on technology and with the ability that I don't need to physically be there in the office. And by opening these offices in other cities, obviously I can't be in more than one place at one time. Just sort of transition to me being able to be the managing partner in a different location. I'm still working just as much as anybody else, but I'm not physically there in the offices anymore.
I love it. A modern firm, certainly. Well, tell me more about McCready Law. So I understand you're at the forefront of technology and certainly on the forefront of AI. Tell me more about that.
Well, listen, technology has always been very important to the firm. It's one of our firm values. It starts with me. I really enjoy technology. Going back to, I started my own websites. I taught myself HTML coding. And it just sort of snowballed from there. I built out several case management systems, and then in 2017, Smart Advocate came on the market, and I was able to run with that and build that out with a lot of automations and efficiencies. And then AI has just expedited this entire journey. Anything that took me years to figure out before, we're figuring out in a matter of days and weeks.
Wow, that's amazing. So are you somebody who feels more that you can actually build your AI in-house with the tools that are available, large language models and more general AI tools? Or are you somebody who is looking more externally and outward for vendors that can come in and solve your problems?
Now, keep in mind, we've been doing AI, pretty extensively for about 2 years now. So we're way ahead of the curve on for most people. A lot of the platforms that are out there right now, we have looked at and we said, we can build that. And it's not as complex as most people think. A lot of AI is built over ChatGPT or some of the other programs that serve as the engine for that. And then you're just limited by your creativity. So we see a good idea or we come up with something and we figure out how to incorporate that into our internal AI. But for those firms that are just starting out or really haven't done anything with AI, there's a lot of vendors out there that are worthwhile taking a look at, because the pace and the evolution of the technology is mind blowing. And I tell law firms, okay, the law firms that have already started using AI in some capacity are already ahead of you, already ahead of everybody else. And it will be impossible for you to catch up. So you need to be doing this now.
And in your conversations with other law firms too, do you get a sense that they are thinking that AI is overhyped and it's not that useful yet? Or are they feeling behind and like other firms that are using it have a competitive advantage over them?
I think I run into two main obstacles about lawyers, not embracing AI. One is that they're scared. They don't know where to start. They're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do, and they're busy practicing law. So why should I take the time to investigate this new technology? I'm doing well as it is. So those people that just sort of stick their head in the sand. The second obstacle are the ones who say, "Oh, well, I don't think the technology is safe yet. I read about all these hallucinated cases, and so the technology is safe. It's how you use it. It's a tool, and simply saying you want to wait until you feel like it's safer is not a viable excuse. There are so many things that AI is doing now, doing better than humans, doing more efficiently than humans. And AI is not going to replace lawyers, but lawyers using AI will replace lawyers who are not using AI. So it's plain and simple as that.
Yeah, well stated. I'm kind of curious about the safety concern. I mean, if you think about it, if you have employees on staff, they can also BS. They can also fabricate information, and not because they're trying to necessarily. It's not always like an intentional lie, for example, but sometimes they just don't know any better and they're trying to make assumptions and they're trying to be useful. And so why is it that we're comfortable with humans being able to do something like that, but we're afraid to use technology that really replicates what humans already do?
Right. Well, listen, there are certainly concerns about the ethical use of AI and the reliability of AI, but there are many things that you can do. It's no different than your IT system. You've got to have, guardrails around it. You've got to have security. You've got to have policies about what you can and cannot do, because as the attorney, it's your name and your bar license that's responsible for all of this. So here's a few things that we do that I recommend as best practices. The first thing that you need to be concerned with is data security. We use ChatGPT as our model. There are others as Claude and Gemini and so forth, but I'm going to talk a little bit about ChatGPT. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to get a paid version. Okay, yes, there is a free version, but that free version, as I've told my kids, nothing in life is free. If they say it's free, then you're the product. And so the free version uses all of your searches and all of your data to improve the model. And you don't want that. So first, get the paid version. I think it's $20 a month. Second, you go to data control, data settings, data control, and there's a little toggle that says, make this model better for everyone. By default, it's clicked. You have to turn that off. What that does is anything that you put into ChatGPT now stays within your account and is not shared with ChatGPT or with the rest of the world. It's really as simple as that, is locking down the data. Second is, when you want to create a search, you should limit what it is you want ChatGPT to search. If ChatGPT is searching the entire universe, the odds are you may get some junk. If you have got 5 deposition transcripts of an expert witness and you say, use only these transcripts and create a cross-examination for me, the odds are, you're going to get good data out of that because you're limiting what you're allowing ChatGPT to reference. So, simple things like that. And then, of course, with your team, with your employees and your office, you do have to have a policy about when you can use it, how you can use it. You don't want them exposing, sensitive client information. We have a duty of confidentiality, and that applies to AI and ChatGPT. So, it's not overwhelming if you spend a little bit of time. In fact, ask ChatGPT. I am a law firm. I am considering allowing my entire office to use ChatGPT. Please create a policy for me that will ensure that all of our client confidential material is secure. and explain what steps my team needs to do to ensure this. It's going to give you the answer. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
Well, and I think it's interesting you bring up limiting what to search, but I also have found that in using ChatGPT and similar tools, it really does better if you give it limited tasks also. And I think one mistake people make is they're just not giving it enough relevant information for the task at hand. And so I know that prompt engineering, it's an ongoing active area of research, which is great, but really just think of it as if you have this ChatGPT and if you have the paid version, you may have already trained it over time to get to know about your law firm, your mission, to what extent you're comfortable taking risks, how aggressive you are, just your style, your policies, your SOPs. The more it knows, then potentially the less information you have to give it. But if you were just to ask, as an example, if you're just to ask ChatGPT, like, oh, go and create this draft pleading. Okay, well, what kind of draft pleading do you need? Obviously, the more you explain, again, that's relevant to the task at hand, the better it'll perform. But with that too, I have had some discussions with attorneys who are finding that really giving it, maybe not even to draft an entire pleading, or really just having it draft like small pieces of it and be very specific with your ask and give it the rest of the information could actually be far more useful than trying to get it to draft, pages and pages, tens of pages all at once.
I mean, listen, I love using ChatGPT for editing, right? We may do a first draft, please take this draft and make it more understandable. Please change the tone of this draft to be more professional, to be more appealing to convincing a judge, or please review this draft and give me a response draft that the defendant would draft in response to my brief. Give me an idea what I'm up against. So, putting different hats on. This all goes back to your, proper query and creating the proper query. Who is the audience? Is the audience a judge? Is the audience someone with an 8th grade education? Is the audience a group of doctors? The response that ChatGPT will give you is going to differ depending on who the audience is. And then who are you? Okay. Are you a highly experienced attorney, or are you a biomechanical engineer? Or are you someone with a high school diploma? That's going to dictate what your output is going to be. So who you are and who your audience is will give you, completely different responses. Change the tone, make it more professional, make it more comedic, make it more personable, all of these things. And that's the idea of ChatGPT, is it's an ongoing discussion. If you don't get what you want, then rephrase it or ask it, hey, I really liked paragraphs 1 and 3, but paragraph 2 was very confusing. Please reword that and perhaps make it, only 50% as long as the current. So it's going to cut it down by 50%. And it's going to do that in basically real time.
I think too, individuals who have not really used ChatGPT don't understand just how flexible it is. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like the first thing it came out with. Well, sure. I mean, if you're working with a paralegal for the first time and you've given it so much information, he or she produces a draft and you don't like it, you go back to them and say, hey, I like it this style. Here's some example drafts that we've used before. Make it shorter. You can go back and forth with it. Although I will say too, I have spent hours at a time occasionally arguing with ChatGPT. And so there's a point when you start to realize, like, is this as fruitful and as efficient as it can be? But the more you do it too, I think the easier it gets and the more effective the outputs become too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, certainly I've had discussions back and forth to get what I really want. And sometimes you got to be very firm. I mean, it's almost like training a puppy, right? And you just have to do it again. Nope, that's not it. do it again, do it again, do it again. And then finally, and sometimes it'll spit out, say, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can do this. And here's, so yeah, it does take some massaging at times to get what you're looking for. But some of that goes back to the original programming and the configuration of your custom GPT. So, you can create these things that will give you what you're looking for, most of the time.
Absolutely. And I want to talk to you about medical chronologies. So personal injury law, hours and hours to get 20, 50, 100 plus pages, depending on how complex a case is and the case type. There is a lot of time dedicated to these medical chronologies. Have you tried using ChatGPT or other tools specifically to produce those efficiently?
What I like about AI and ChatGPT is it can take large volumes of information and create it and digest it in a way that is much more understandable. So a medical chronology is a perfect example. You may have 10 different medical providers. But here's where I think that some people don't utilize it to its fullest extent. There are a dozen different ways to do a medical chronology. There are a dozen different ways to do a deposition summary. And if you just call it a medical chronology, ChatGPT is going to give you one result. And that might not be what you're looking for because you didn't ask the right question. So how about asking this question before you even start? What are 10 examples of how medical records are organized that lawyers typically ask? Okay, that it may be truly chronological. It may be organized by treater. It could be organized by complaint, right? So give me a chronology for these 5 complaints. I don't want to see the ankle injury and then the next visit the pancreatitis. No, I want all the ankle injury. Deposition, how do you want the summary? Most people want it page and line number, but no, you can organize, you can ask ChatGPT to do a deposition summary based on issues, okay, based on damages, cross-referencing other evidence in the case where things are inconsistent. So upload the police report and other depositions. Here is a transcript. Please identify any other area of the materials I provided that are inconsistent with the testimony in this transcript. So these are things that the human mind, may be able to do, but there is a limit to the capacity of the human brain. And so, for example, you could be the best trial lawyer in the world and you could know everything about your case. But once again, there's a limit as to what you can hold into your head. And there's no limit with AI. There is no limitation of data or the connections, the predictions that AI can make that the human brain just can't do. One of my favorite things I like to do in cases is I like alliterations. An alliteration is 3 words all with the same letter. And I'll upload the facts of my case and I'll say, give me 5 alliterations. I'll be honest, I couldn't think of a single alliteration. It's so difficult to do. And and ChatGPT will give you 5 just like that. And you can say, I don't like those 5. Give me 5 more. So there are things that technology and AI can do that the human brain just simply cannot do.
It's so true. So I always say there are 3 areas that I think ChatGPT does a better job than humans. And one is digesting an enormous amount of information in a short amount of time. So, if we were to try and read a book amount of material in a matter of minutes and then be able to pass a test right afterwards, humans just can't do that. Whereas AI, even if not perfect, will almost typically outperform humans if really every time. And then a second one is idea generation. So it can be challenging, for someone creating content for marketing or someone writing a book just to have writer's block, or you're trying to plan a vacation. You're like, there's so much information out there. It's easier to start with something in front of you than a blank page. And so to even ask ChatGPT or another large language model, plan my vacation. I'm going to the Bahamas for 5 days in the spring. What should my vacation look like? And then from there, you can go back and forth and say, my mom is dealing with skin cancer. And so maybe we don't want to spend as much time with the sun. Recreate the plan based on information that you give it. So another area that is really crucial is abnormality identification. And that's a really big word, but sometimes it's error detection or a malfunction. And so in manufacturing, AI has gotten better at identifying potential malfunctions than humans have, just because it's more sensitive. And so the ability to detect fraud for banks and to detect potential disease or an issue in an X-ray, it's just phenomenal what it can do these days.
Yeah, so you have to keep in mind the difference between how Google searches and how ChatGPT searches. Okay, so when you type in, and you can type in very similar queries, but Google has an algorithm. Okay, based on the words that you put in, it's got an algorithm, and the output is a list of URLs of web pages that Google thinks is responsive to your question. Okay, that's all it is this is a resource, this is a web page that we think answers your question best. That's how Google makes their money. The difference with AI is it doesn't give you a list of websites. It gives you the actual conclusion. And there are things that, so Google is very linear. AI pulls from everywhere. And there are connections that ChatGPT can make that Google simply can't make. You cannot combine all of these different elements into a Google search and expect to find a URL that answers all of those questions. So, I love to travel. So I'll be like, I want to plan a trip. I was just in Portugal, and I want to drive no more than 2 hours between stops, and give me an itinerary and give me Google's not going to be able to give me an itinerary based on that, but ChatGPT will. So getting back to your point is that the data points that ChatGPT is pulling from and the predictive conclusions that it's coming to in its response are far beyond anything that Google ever imagined.
It's really amazing. I'm curious too, so with the evolution of any technology comes challenges, trials, and tribulations. What challenges have you experienced with AI?
Challenges, I would say, certainly are change management. Okay, I enjoy this. But it's different when you have to roll it out to your team. Even though my team has learned to trust me when it comes to technology, this is a really, really big, a big change, and how we're approaching things. And, some people are scared. Oh, am I going to lose my job? No, we're going to make your job better. We're going to be able to make you do your job better. So even though this is technology, you still need to be aware of the human element and the people who are going to be using this tool. So, AI is not replacing all humans. Now, will there be some things that AI can do? Of course. But the point is you need to be able to explain why this technology is beneficial for everybody in the firm and walk them through it and train them, and not just dump it on their computer and say, oh, look, you've got ChatGPT, go for it. So that's a bit of a challenge. I've got the shiny object syndrome. So, I've got a million different projects going on with AI, and something else will, oh, wow, let's do this. And then I forget about what we were working on. So follow through is certainly a problem. And then cutting through all the chatter There's a lot of people that are talking about AI that frankly don't know a lot about it. And I try to listen outside of the law because I find the information to be a little bit better than some of the stuff I'm hearing within the legal tech field.
Yeah, and as somebody who started my master's degree in data science back in 2017, focused specializing in AI, it is challenging to watch individuals come about. And for somebody who's put, a couple thousand plus hours into building algorithms from scratch and really doing everything inside Python and R and some other tools, it's hard to hear somebody present themselves as an expert after just taking a couple of AI bootcamp courses. But then again, on the flip side of that, I guess I appreciate that any education that you can get is going to help you. And so there needs to be more vendors. There needs to be more knowledge around how AI works, especially with it evolving so quickly. And of course, like any other technology that's fast moving, becoming an expert in it for a period of time is one thing, but to keep on it is a totally different animal too. Things just
Hey, listen, it's the wild, wild west out there. I mean, it really is. I remember when, the internet and web pages were, really taking off and just all this crazy stuff. And I thought that the pace of change was fast back then. Now I'm glad you haven't asked me this, but I can't stand when people say, "Oh, where do you think it's going to be in 3 to 5 years?" Years? I don't know where it's going to be in 3 to 5 months.
Yeah.
And it's such an absurd question. If you look back even 12 months ago where we are now, and the pace is expanding exponentially. I mean, that's what AI is. It continues to learn and grow, and it's going like this. So no, I can't predict where we're going to be.
Do you have specific goals around AI? So I won't ask you where you think it's going, but what are you hoping to accomplish in like the next year or two?
Yeah, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, our guiding principle is to give the best representation to clients that we can. And how can we leverage technology to do that? Part of which is, client education and client communication. Those are really easy, low-hanging fruit to use with AI. But even things such as, processing cases, getting all of the data into our systems. Then, of course, the litigation aspect of it, where it's preparing for trial or, researching an expert. Sometimes we have experts in areas of, non-law and non-medicine, and we have to teach ourselves, how to be a biomechanical engineer. Those are complex tasks. So just using AI to be able to get better results for our clients. And in as broad as that may sound, using AI and applying it in every aspect of our client journey.
I love it. Well, where can individuals go to find out more about you and McCready Law Injury Attorneys as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, easy. I'm going to go back to old school and just Google, Google McCready Law. It'll come up. We spent a lot of time and money to make sure that it comes up. But I'm also active on LinkedIn. I post a lot about AI and tech and little things that I come across. So just Michael McCready in LinkedIn. I try to end every podcast like this is that, reach out to people, right? I mean, if you've got a question or you want to run an idea by someone, most people are pretty receptive and most people answer and I do my best to answer. So, always feel free to reach out.
Great advice. Well, Michael, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to Michael and his firm. Otherwise, thanks again and have a wonderful day.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Jamie. I enjoyed the conversation.
Fantastic.